Life does not wait for you to be ready. The sun rises whether you are prepared to meet the day or not, and each morning ushers in a new set of opportunities, challenges, and divine appointments. The battlefield is not out there somewhere. It begins in the mind, the very moment your eyes open. Before the noise of the world crowds in, before the doubts of yesterday return to haunt you, and before fear disguises itself as caution, you must determine what voice you will listen to. Mornings are not trivial, they are sacred. They set the tone for the hours ahead, and if you allow the wrong narrative to take root, you will spend the day reacting instead of leading, drifting instead of advancing, surviving instead of conquering. Every person carries within them a dialogue, a script that shapes how they think, how they decide, and how they live. If that script is negative, weak, or distorted, the results will follow accordingly. But if you train yourself to speak truth, faith, and clarity at the very start of your day, you shift the trajectory of your entire life. Today, I want to share with you 9 things you must tell yourself every morning. These are not empty affirmations or hollow optimism. They are anchors for your spirit, fuel for your mind, and weapons for your daily battles. 1. Today is a gift, and I will not waste it. Each sunrise is a reminder that time is not guaranteed, it is entrusted. Too many wake up with the weight of yesterday pressing down upon them, already defeated before the day has begun. But when you open your eyes and declare, "Today is a gift, and I will not waste it," you shift your heart into gratitude and awaken your spirit to purpose. Think for a moment about the reality of time. You cannot store it, you cannot borrow it, you cannot retrieve it once it has passed. Every day is a deposit from eternity into your hands, and what you do with it matters more than you realize. When you waste a day, you waste a piece of the life that was assigned specifically to you, and no one else can live it for you. That is why you must choose, with conscious intention, to see the morning not as a repetition of yesterday, but as an irreplaceable gift with eternal significance. To treat today as a gift is to treat it as sacred. It is to understand that there are conversations that will never happen again, moments that will never return, and decisions that will echo far beyond the next 24 hours. When you realize this, even ordinary routines take on extraordinary meaning. The morning commute becomes an opportunity to pray or think deeply rather than to complain. A simple greeting to a stranger can shift their entire day. A choice to discipline yourself in the small matters becomes a seed for future harvests. The person who recognizes today as a gift stops living reactively and starts living deliberately. Saying, "I will not waste it," is not about perfection, it is about direction. It is easy to drift, to scroll endlessly, to chase distractions that leave you emptier than before. But when you affirm that you will not waste the day, you build a guardrail against passivity. You remind yourself that time must be stewarded, not squandered. This means evaluating how you spend your attention, your words, your energy, and your focus. It means being honest enough to cut away habits that drain you, and courageous enough to invest in what truly builds you. It means being present where you are, because presence is the greatest gift you can give both yourself and others. To wake up and declare this truth is also to confront the lie that you are powerless. You are not a victim of your circumstances, you are a steward of your responses. Even if the day is filled with trials, you can still choose how you will walk through them. To waste today is to surrender it to fear, anger, or laziness. To treasure today is to anchor it in gratitude, purpose, and faith. You may not control everything that enters your path, but you can control whether you waste the gift by ignoring it or honor it by living fully within it. Every morning, remind yourself, today is not just another day, it is a sacred trust. And because it is a gift, you will not waste it. 2. I am loved with an everlasting love. When you begin your day with the words, "I am loved with an everlasting love," you anchor yourself in the most unshakable truth that exists. Too often, people wake up with the residue of rejection, betrayal, or disappointment still clinging to their hearts. They rehearse the words that were spoken against them, the failures that haunt them, or the fears of being forgotten. But when you choose to declare that you are loved with a love that has no end, you silence the chorus of lies that would diminish your worth. This is not a love based on performance, fleeting emotions, or the fickle approval of others. It is a love rooted in eternity, a love that existed before you ever drew your first breath, and a love that will remain even after the world fades away. To walk through life without knowing you are loved is to stumble in darkness. You may chase achievement, possessions, or relationships, but none of these can fill the void created by a starving heart. Yet when you remind yourself daily of this everlasting love, you walk differently. Confidence is not arrogance. It is the quiet assurance that your value does not fluctuate with circumstances. You may face opposition, you may endure failure, but none of these can sever what was given freely and without condition. To be loved with an everlasting love means that nothing you encounter today can rob you of your identity. Think of what it does to your soul when you realize you do not need to earn this love. The world constantly shouts that you are only as valuable as your last success, your appearance, or your ability to keep up. But everlasting love whispers a different story. It tells you that you were chosen, known, and desired before you could ever prove yourself. It tells you that even in your weakness, your worth is secure. When you wake up and remind yourself of this, you disarm the fear of failure and dismantle the need for constant approval. You no longer walk into rooms hoping to be accepted. You walk into rooms carrying acceptance within you. This truth also transforms the way you treat others. A person who knows they are deeply loved has no need to compete, compare, or manipulate. They are free to serve, free to forgive, and free to give without fear of depletion. When you start your day grounded in everlasting love, the criticism of others cannot crush you, and the praise of others cannot inflate you, because your foundation is fixed. Every conversation, every action, every decision flows out of a heart that knows it is already complete. Declaring this truth is not wishful thinking. It is aligning yourself with reality. You are loved with a love that has no expiration date, no condition, and no rival. Before the noise of the day begins, remind yourself of it. Let it be the lens through which you see the world, the anchor that steadies your heart, and the fuel that gives you courage. Each morning, speak it aloud. I am loved with an everlasting love, and then live as if that is true, because it is. 3. My past does not define my future. When you wake and declare, my past does not define my future, you break chains that so many carry without realizing it. The weight of regret, shame, and failure often clings to people like a shadow, whispering that what has been will always dictate what will be. Yet the truth is, the past is a teacher, not a prison. Every mistake, every wound, and every wrong turn can either become an anchor that drags you down or a stepping stone that propels you forward. You choose which it will be. To affirm that your past does not define your future is to decide that yesterday's failures are not today's identity. It is to acknowledge that while the past has shaped you, it does not have the authority to confine you. Many live trapped in a cycle of replaying their worst moments. They allow guilt to speak louder than grace, and in doing so, they shrink their future to the size of their memory. But your story is not finished. A scar may remind you of pain, but it also reminds you of healing. A failure may mark where you fell, but it also marks where you learned what not to repeat. The past can inform you, but it cannot imprison you unless you hand it the key. Each morning, you must take back that key and remind yourself that your future is shaped by decisions you make now, not by mistakes you made then. Think of how the most powerful stories in history are built. They are not tales of perfection, but of redemption. Heroes are not those who never fell. They are those who refuse to stay down. When you remind yourself daily that your past does not define your future, you allow hope to breathe again. Hope does not deny that wounds exist. It simply declares that wounds will not dictate destiny. What matters most is not where you have been, but where you are willing to go. Every sunrise gives you a blank page. The ink of yesterday's failures does not blot out the opportunity of today's choices. This declaration also protects you from the judgments of others. People will try to hold you hostage to who you were, reminding you of mistakes, failures, or weaknesses, but they do not have the authority to dictate your future. When you truly embrace this truth, you walk free from the need to continually explain or justify yourself. You do not erase your past, you outgrow it. And by living differently today, you prove that the past is simply a chapter, not the conclusion. To say, my past does not define my future, is to commit to growth. It is to live with vision rather than nostalgia, with faith rather than regret. You cannot change what is behind you, but you can transform what is before you. Each morning, as you rise, remember this. The past is gone, but the future is still being written, and you hold the pen. 4. I am armed with wisdom for every decision. When you rise and declare, I am armed with wisdom for every decision, you remind yourself that you are not walking blindly into the day. Life is a constant stream of choices. some small and unnoticed, others monumental and life-altering. Every word you speak, every opportunity you accept or reject, every relationship you nurture or release carries consequences that ripple far beyond the moment. Many people live paralyzed by indecision, fearful of making the wrong move, or they rush headlong without discernment, creating chaos they later regret. But wisdom is not elusive, nor is it reserved for the few. It is available, and it is sufficient for every challenge you will face today. To begin your day with this declaration is to step forward with confidence that you are not left to navigate life by instinct alone. You are equipped with insight that surpasses your own understanding. Wisdom is more than intelligence, and it is far more than cleverness. Intelligence can analyze facts, but wisdom discerns direction. Cleverness may outmaneuver people, but wisdom builds trust and legacy. Wisdom is the ability to see beyond the immediate, to perceive the long-term consequence of a choice, and to align your actions with truth rather than impulse. When you speak this over yourself in the morning, you are training your mind to resist the temptation of shortcuts, the seduction of easy answers, and the pressure of hasty decisions. You are reminding yourself that there is guidance available for every crossroad and clarity for every foggy path. Declaring that you are armed with wisdom changes how you approach problems. Instead of seeing obstacles as insurmountable, you begin to look for the principles that can unlock solutions. Instead of being swayed by emotion in the heat of the moment, you recall that wisdom steadies the heart before it speaks or acts. This perspective shields you from manipulation and guards you against deception, because wisdom tests appearances and uncovers what is hidden beneath the surface. Every morning, when you say these words, you are clothing yourself with discernment that will protect you from regrets and position you for breakthroughs. This declaration also cultivates humility. To say you are armed with wisdom is not to boast in yourself, but to acknowledge that wisdom flows from a source beyond your own limited experience. It reminds you to pause, to listen, to reflect before you act. It keeps you teachable, willing to learn from the counsel of others, and alert to lessons hidden in both success and failure. Wisdom is not static. It grows as you honor it, and it sharpens as you apply it. As you move through your day, countless voices will compete for your attention. Some will urge rashness, others will entice you toward compromise, and still others will whisper despair. But wisdom speaks with clarity, offering you the steady compass you need to navigate. Each morning, speak it with conviction. You are not abandoned to confusion. You are armed with wisdom for every decision. Let that awareness guide your steps, guard your words, and shape your destiny. 5. Fear will not rule over me. When you wake and declare, "Fear will not rule over me," you confront one of the greatest enemies of human progress and peace. Fear is subtle. It disguises itself as caution, as wisdom, even as humility. But at its core, fear is a thief. It steals opportunities before you ever take them. It convinces you to stay silent when you should speak, to remain still when you should act, and to retreat when you are meant to advance. Fear paints pictures of worst-case scenarios and paralyzes the imagination until hope is smothered. Yet fear is not a master you are obligated to obey. To declare that fear will not rule over you is to reclaim your authority, to remind yourself that fear may whisper, but it does not command. Every day presents situations that could stir fear, uncertainty about the future, conflict in relationships, challenges in work, or threats to security. The difference between those who are bound and those who are free is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear dictate choices. Courage is not a lack of trembling, it is the decision to move forward despite it. By affirming this truth in the morning, you strip fear of its power to define your boundaries. You acknowledge its presence, but you deny it the throne. Fear thrives in imagination, projecting disasters that may never come. It keeps your focus on what could go wrong instead of what could go right. It magnifies obstacles while minimizing your capacity to overcome them. That is why it must be challenged at the start of the day. When you speak aloud, "Fear will not rule over me," you align your heart with faith and your mind with strength. You remind yourself that fear may knock, but it will not be given a seat at the table. You choose to live from conviction, not from intimidation. This declaration also reshapes your response to adversity. When setbacks occur, fear tells you to quit. When criticism comes, fear urges you to hide. When uncertainty looms, fear suggests that waiting forever is safer than risking failure. But the truth is that progress is impossible without risk, and transformation never comes from comfort. To live without fear ruling you is to step into arenas where growth and destiny await. It is to say yes to opportunities that stretch you and to confront challenges that reveal strength you did not know you had. There will always be voices that stir fear within you and around you, but the choice is yours, to surrender or to stand. Each morning you must renew that choice, for fear is persistent. Say it until your heart believes it. Fear will not rule over me. Say it until your actions prove it. Fear will not dictate my steps. Say it until the very atmosphere around you changes. Fear will not have dominion here. The day may hold uncertainties, but you hold the greater truth. Fear is not your ruler. Faith, courage, and purpose are. 6. I am a servant with a higher calling. When you declare in the morning, I am a servant with a higher calling, you immediately reposition yourself in a world that constantly pressures people to live for self. Culture tells you to pursue status, possessions, recognition, and personal comfort as the highest goals. But when you remind yourself that you are first and foremost a servant, you exchange the fleeting rewards of self-centered ambition for the lasting impact of a life poured out for something greater. To serve is not weakness, it is strength under discipline. It is the conscious choice to live beyond yourself, to see your gifts and opportunities not merely as tools for personal gain, but as instruments for transformation in the lives of others. And when you add that you are a servant with a higher calling, you set your eyes on the reality that your service is not random. It has eternal purpose woven into it. This mindset reshapes how you approach the day. You no longer see ordinary tasks as meaningless. Even small acts of kindness, unnoticed by the world, become weighty when they are done with a higher calling in view. Greeting someone with patience, choosing honesty when it costs you, giving time to listen when you could walk away. These are not wasted moments. They are the fabric of greatness, not in the eyes of man, but in the eyes of eternity. When you live as a servant, you begin to recognize that power is not measured by how many serve you, but by how many you serve faithfully. Declaring this also protects you from the traps of pride and comparison. If you see yourself only as a competitor in life's race, you will measure your worth by who is ahead of you or behind you. But when you wake and remind yourself that you are a servant, you no longer need to outshine others. You only need to be faithful to your assignment. The higher calling you carry does not require you to mimic another person's path. It requires you to walk in obedience on your own. This keeps you free from envy, bitterness, and the endless pursuit of validation. Servanthood with a higher calling also gives you resilience in hardship. Service is often thankless. People may overlook your sacrifice or even take advantage of it. If you live only for recognition, you will quit when applause fades. But when you root yourself in the truth that your calling is higher, you endure because you know your work is not in vain. The unseen sacrifices, the quiet perseverance, the moments of obedience no one applauds, all are seen and all matter. This gives meaning to your struggles and courage to remain steadfast. Each morning, declaring this truth sets the tone for your interactions. You are not here to consume, but to contribute. You are not here to grasp, but to give. You are not drifting aimlessly, but serving with purpose. And that service, when connected to a higher calling, transforms everything. Begin your day with it. Live your day through it, and let it shape the legacy you leave behind. 7. Obstacles are opportunities in disguise. When you declare, obstacles are opportunities in disguise, you reframe the very challenges that most people spend their lives running from. Every person faces resistance, unexpected problems, closed doors, delays, and disappointments. The natural instinct is to view these as setbacks designed to harm or hinder you. But the truth is often the opposite. Obstacles are the very tools that shape your character, sharpen your skills, and prepare you for levels of growth you could never reach without them. What feels like a barrier can become a bridge, and what looks like a dead end can redirect you toward a greater destiny. When you tell yourself each morning that obstacles are opportunities, you are training your mind to look past frustration and to search for the hidden gift within every difficulty. This mindset does not deny the pain of struggle. Obstacles can hurt and they can leave you weary, but the difference lies in perspective. Where others see defeat, you begin to see development. A closed door may push you to innovate. A delay may give you time to strengthen your foundation. A failure may strip away pride and teach you lessons success never could. By approaching obstacles as disguised opportunities, you step out of victimhood and into ownership. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What is this preparing me for?" That simple shift transforms despair into determination. Think of how many breakthroughs in history were born out of obstacles. Inventors who faced repeated failure learned persistence that eventually changed the world. Leaders who endured opposition developed resilience that enabled them to carry great responsibility. Ordinary people who encountered extraordinary hardships discovered within themselves courage they never knew they had. None of this would have been possible without obstacles pressing them beyond the limits of comfort. When you declare this truth over yourself in the morning, you remind your heart that struggle is not a sign of weakness, but a stage for strength to be revealed. This perspective also protects you from quitting too soon. Many give up right before the breakthrough, weary of the resistance, unable to see the opportunity hiding in the obstacle. But if you begin your day committed to seeing differently, you endure longer, push harder, and remain expectant even in difficulty. You start to see the opposition itself as confirmation that there is something worth fighting for on the other side. Each morning, when you say aloud, "Obstacles are opportunities in disguise," you are planting resilience in your spirit. You are preparing yourself to face the unexpected, not with fear, but with faith. The obstacle may come in the form of criticism, failure, rejection, or delay, but hidden within it is a doorway to growth, wisdom, and breakthrough. The difference between those who are crushed and those who conquer is not the absence of obstacles, but the presence of vision to see the opportunity inside them. Declare it daily, believe it fully, and walk through every challenge with eyes wide open. 8. I will speak life, not death, into my day. When you declare, "I will speak life, not death, into my day," you take control over one of the most powerful forces entrusted to you, your words. Every morning, you are given a choice. You can speak words that build, strengthen, and encourage, or you can speak words that weaken, wound, and destroy. The direction of your day is shaped not only by what happens to you, but also by what flows out of your mouth in response. Words are seeds, and what you sow with your tongue will bear fruit in your thoughts, your relationships, and your environment. If you speak constantly of fear, defeat, and frustration, you will live under the shadow of those very things. But if you choose to declare life, hope, and purpose, you create an atmosphere where growth and victory can thrive. This truth is not abstract, it is practical. The way you speak to yourself in the mirror, the way you describe your challenges, the way you respond to setbacks, all of it shapes your inner world. If you begin your day saying, "I can't, I won't, it's impossible," you shut the door on possibility before it even has a chance to enter. But when you speak life, you unlock resilience within you. Saying, "I can grow, I can learn, I can overcome," does not magically remove hardship, but it equips your spirit to face hardship with strength rather than surrender. Words also impact those around you. A careless remark can crush someone's spirit for the entire day, while a word of encouragement can lift them from despair to determination. To speak life into your day means choosing to be intentional with your words to others as much as to yourself. It means resisting the temptation to complain when gratitude is available, to criticize when encouragement is needed, and to curse when blessing could change the atmosphere. The words you speak can either darken the room or fill it with light. This declaration is also a shield against negativity. You cannot always control what others say to you, but you can control what you say in return. By committing each morning to speak life, you protect your heart from adopting the bitterness, fear, or despair of others. Instead of echoing their negativity, you establish your own tone. Even in the face of adversity, you can choose to release words of faith, hope, and courage. To speak life is not about ignoring reality. It is about declaring a greater reality. You acknowledge the challenge, but you refuse to let despair have the final word. You see the difficulty, but you declare the possibility. Each morning, as you rise, remind yourself of this commitment. Speak it aloud, let it shape your thoughts, and then let it guide your words. When you say, "I will speak life, not death, into my day," you are not just making a statement, you are setting a foundation for how the entire day will unfold. 9. Victory belongs to me because I do not stand alone. When you declare, "Victory belongs to me because I do not stand alone," you remind yourself that life's battles are not meant to be fought in isolation. Every day brings with it struggles, some visible, others hidden deep within the heart. Left alone, these battles can overwhelm, discouraging even the strongest. But the truth you must anchor yourself in is this: you are never truly alone. To stand alone is to carry the crushing weight of fear, doubt, and uncertainty without help. To stand with the assurance of divine presence, however, is to walk into every challenge with confidence that the outcome is not dependent solely on your strength. This declaration is not an arrogant boast. It is a humble recognition that victory is possible because a greater power fights with you and for you. Victory is not always about the absence of struggle. More often, it is about enduring the struggle and emerging refined, stronger, and unbroken. When you start your day proclaiming that victory belongs to you, you are choosing to see beyond temporary setbacks. A setback may look like failure to the natural eye, but to one who knows they do not stand alone, it is simply another chapter in a much larger story of triumph. This mindset shifts your perspective. You stop asking whether you will survive the day and start declaring that you will overcome it. This truth also dismantles the lie of isolation. Many people wake up believing they must face life's burdens without support, carrying pressures that were never meant to rest on their shoulders alone. When you affirm that you do not stand alone, you break that lie. You remind yourself that unseen strength surrounds you, that you are upheld in ways you cannot always perceive, and that the very presence walking with you is greater than any opposition against you. This gives courage where there was once fear, clarity where there was once confusion, and hope where there was once despair. Declaring victory each morning also stirs resilience. The day may bring conflict, rejection, or disappointment, but victory is not determined by how smooth the path is. It is determined by who walks beside you. With this awareness, you stop measuring success merely by circumstances and begin measuring it by faithfulness and perseverance. Victory is already secured because the one standing with you cannot fail. This transforms how you respond to obstacles. Instead of shrinking back, you step forward. Instead of giving in to despair, you speak hope. Instead of surrendering, you stand. Each morning when you say, "Victory belongs to me because I do not stand alone," you are declaring more than optimism. You are aligning yourself with reality. You are not abandoned, you are not forgotten, and you are not outmatched. Whatever the day holds, you are never without strength, never without support, and never without purpose. Victory is not a distant dream. It is a present assurance. Begin your day with this declaration and walk through every hour with the unshakable confidence that you will not be overcome because you never walk alone.